Hello and welcome to this video where we're going to be going through some of the stuff that happened in the newest Xbox conference event thingy where they showcased some of the games that are going to be coming out on the Xbox Series X. Overall, the event was it was pretty disappointing. But before we get into all of the sort of negative things I have to say about the event, I think we should first start the video on a bit of a positive and take a look at some of the things that the conference did quite well in my opinion. So the biggest positive of the event is that Xbox are continuing to support the Xbox Game Pass by releasing all of these Xbox Game Studios games onto the service on day one of release. So if you're already paying for that subscription, you're technically getting all of these games for free because you would be paying for the subscription anyway. So that's really, really good, and it is something that I think PlayStation kind of need to catch up with Xbox on. It would be awesome if PlayStation offered a similar sort of service. I know that they've got the PlayStation Now subscription, but I don't think that that really is any comparison to what Xbox are doing with their version. So that's really, really good. The fact that you're going to be able to get Halo Infinite on day one just using this subscription without having to buy the game separately, that's really good. The second positive point I have to say about the event is that they actually did show off a ton of games that I think all of these ones that I'm going to mention here are exclusive to Xbox, or I guess PC as well, but we'll get onto that a little bit later. So what did we have? We had Halo Infinite, we had the new Fable, we had the Grounded game that's made by Obsidian. We had that Avowed, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but yeah, the other game made by Obsidian that kind of looks like Skyrim a little bit. We had Hellblade, and we had Stalker 2 as well. So yeah, there was others mentioned in the event, but I didn't really care for a lot of the games that they were showing off. But even disregarding all of the ones that I didn't really care about, like the new Forza game and stuff like that, there was still quite an impressive library of games announced there, so you've got quite a lot to be looking forward to with the new Xbox. Unfortunately though, that's kind of where the positive points about the event end, and even though they did announce quite a lot of games, and a lot of those games are going to be coming out on the Xbox Game Pass, I still was left kind of underwhelmed and disappointed by the event as a whole, which is kind of bad because I was going into it with fairly low expectations anyway. So let's just get the main thing out of the way that everybody has been talking about. The grand reveal of the gameplay of Halo Infinite kinda looked a little bit janky. Like there was loads of texture pop in, the graphics didn't really look that good, and at times I would even go as far as to say that it sort of looked like an Xbox 360 era game. And it just doesn't really look like the gameplay has evolved all that much. And I know maybe that's kind of what you want from a Halo game, you kind of want it to stay true to what it always has been. But then at the same time they've also introduced these new mechanics that change up the game in ways that I'm pretty sure most people don't want it to be changed. So it's like, it kind of feels the same as the old games, but also different in a way that you don't want at the same time. Basically, I think the problem is that the people that started making Halo after Bungie, 343 Industries, I just don't think they quite get how to make a good Halo game. And to be honest, I kind of feel like the Halo series probably should have stopped when Bungie stopped making them, but obviously it's way too big of a franchise to just do that, so they had to keep it going somehow, right? But anyway, that aside, basically my problem with the look of the new Halo game isn't so much the graphics or the texture pop-in or anything like that. It's more so to do with the fact that they've made it open world, and the fact that it's also going to be like a live service game that's going to be continuously updated throughout its life. And I just kind of think it's going to end up losing its identity as a Halo game, and it's going to sort of just end up feeling like any other open world live service game. And I don't think that's what anybody wants from a Halo game. I would rather them just release a game and just have it as its own thing and not be continuously updated. and have a more linear experience as well that's not like this massive open world. Because I don't know if that's what anybody wants from a Halo game. I know it's not what I want, but yeah, so that left me kind of with a bit of a sour taste in my mouth and kind of put me off of even getting the new Halo game, to be honest. It didn't really grab me. And on top of all of that, another thing to do with Halo Infinite is that it's rumoured that the multiplayer mode isn't going to ship with the base game. So when you get the game on release, it's just going to be the campaign mode, and you're not going to have any online competitive multiplayer element. Which I just think completely sucks. And I've noticed that that's become a trend in a lot of games, like The Last of Us Part 2 only shipped with the campaign, and Red Dead Redemption 2 at the time only shipped with the campaign as well. And I think with those games it's more acceptable because the story is kind of what you're playing it for. But with Halo, a lot of people just play Halo for the multiplayer. So to have that not there from the get-go kinda seems really like just like they're releasing an unfinished game almost. I don't want it to come across like I'm being way too harsh on Halo though, because it is actually one of my favourite shooter series ever made. Halo 3 in particular, I'd probably go as far as to say that that is one of my favourite games of all time. So yeah, I don't want it to come across like I'm just being like really hateful towards it or anything, because it probably will turn out to be good, and if they iron out some of the technical flaws with it, like maybe make the texture pop in a little bit better and stuff like that, I'm sure that it will release to like critical acclaim and it will be really good. But yeah, my faith has kind of wavered in the series, and I don't think that Halo Infinite is going to be the game to bring me back to the series in any big way. Anyway, let's leave Halo by the side for a minute and talk about potentially a bigger problem that I've got with the overall Xbox brand at the moment. And it's something that I briefly touched on a little bit earlier, but basically I think it's an issue how what Xbox are doing at the moment are releasing all of their games not only on the Series X, which obviously makes sense, but they're also coming out on PC and the Xbox One. So I'm just left baffled because I'm just thinking like, yeah, well, that's good for people playing games because it makes them a lot more accessible. It has a lot of like negative components to it as well. The major one being that games are going to be really limited coming out on the Series X because they also have to work on the Xbox One. So games that we're seeing coming out on the PS5 literally couldn't run on a PS4, like the new Ratchet & Clank with how fast that loads the worlds together. Like you couldn't see that on the PS4, right? But any game coming out on the Series X is going to have to be downgraded quite significantly because it also needs to run on previous gen hardware. So yeah, I'm just a little bit confused as to why Xbox are doing that. You would think that they would want to be pushing the power of their new console, but they just don't seem to be doing that for some reason. My other problem with this is that by putting all of these games on PC as well, it's basically just making people think, well, instead of buying the new Xbox, I might as well just buy a PC and then be able to play all of the new Xbox games anyway, as well as a plethora of other PC exclusive games. So they're almost making it more of a better deal to become a PC gamer than what it is to buy the new Xbox console, which just seems completely backwards because they're making less money doing it that way. I don't know, I just feel like Xbox recently have not been understanding the importance of exclusive games, whereas Sony and the PlayStation are just completely killing it at the moment with exclusives. I would say that they're actually getting to a point now where they're rivaling the IPs that Nintendo have. There's just been hit after hit from Sony recently, and it's really incredible stuff, whereas Xbox have kind of just not released anything at all recently that's appealed to me anyway. I know there was the new Gears of War that was released recently, but I'm not really into that. So yeah, there's just nothing for me on that platform. Another issue I had with the conference as a whole is that for some reason they seemed really intent on showing games that have already come out. So we had The Outer Worlds shown, we had Ori and the Will of the Wisps, we had Destiny 2, we had Tetris Effect, and there was probably more that I'm forgetting about. And I'm just, again, left baffled by this, because I thought that this event was supposed to be showcasing all of the new upcoming games that are gonna, like, push the hardware and, like, really sell the new Xbox to you. But there was at least 4 games shown that have already been out for quite a significant amount of time, and that you can play on previous gen hardware as well. Like, I know Sony did this a little bit, like at the beginning of their conference they showed Grand Theft Auto 5, but after that point, that was it. They didn't do it again. So yeah, it's just really strange. I'm just left thinking that Xbox don't have a good grasp on what people want from their console, and it's a little bit disappointing to see. Another major thing that people have been talking about a lot online is that there's been a serious lack of gameplay shown, not just in the Xbox conference, but also in the PlayStation conference as well. I think the thing is with this, I've been thinking about what made the PlayStation conference good and the Xbox conference bad. And I kept thinking about it, and I kept thinking, like, why do I have such negative emotions towards the Xbox One when I really liked the PlayStation 1, and yet neither of them showed a lot of gameplay? And I think it comes down to the fact that all of the studios that are under the PlayStation banner, so Sucker Punch, Naughty Dog, Insomniac, Bend Studios, Santa Monica Studio, and everybody like that, there's a lot more, but all of those studios just keep making hit game after hit game after hit game again and again, and it creates a situation where it's almost like you don't need to see much to know that what they're producing is going to be the highest quality stuff that you're going to see on the new PlayStation console. But with the Xbox branded studios, none of them are quite as consistent as that, and it causes a situation where you begin to doubt the quality of the games that they're showing, and they kind of need to back it up a lot more by showing gameplay. But because they're not doing that, it's just kind of making you think that the footage that they're showing, the CG trailers, aren't representative of what the final game is going to be like, because there's a lack of trust there. Like, even the legendary studios that they own, like Rare, are pretty much just a shadow of their former selves. Like, I mean, I don't think anybody would disagree that Banjo-Kazooie is way more of a critically acclaimed and adored title than their recent output like Sea of Thieves, right? So it's like even the studios that do have the back catalogue to be able to back up the new stuff that they're doing have kind of been going downhill recently to such an extent where you don't trust them anymore. At least that's how I feel about it. So I think that's almost why people are disappointed with the Xbox conference not showing gameplay, despite liking the Sony conference and that also not showing gameplay. I think Sony have kind of earned the right to do that a little bit more than Xbox have. So yeah, that's another reason that I found the Xbox conference a little bit disappointing, to be honest. And then the last thing that I'll talk about that was disappointing about it is the fact that just like PlayStation, they haven't yet announced a price or release date for the console, which I just think is absolutely ridiculous because it's out in a few months. At this point, it really does feel like they're just waiting for the opposition to reveal their price and release date just so that they can undercut them by making their console come out first and make it slightly cheaper. But neither of them want to pull the trigger and be the first one to do it, you know? But yeah, somebody's got to do it first at some point, and they're leaving it quite late to announce that stuff. But yeah, hopefully one of them will do it soon so that we can finally get our pre-orders in and know how much money we're going to be spending on these systems, because it's getting quite ridiculous at this point. And that's pretty much it. I know I've been really negative in this video, and I really don't want it to come across like I hate the Xbox brand or anything. I really do want them to be successful, because I think they're capable of producing some really, really high quality games. They have so many different IPs that I wouldn't want to ever disappear. I'm really excited for the new Fable. I can't wait to see some gameplay of that. Hopefully it will be really good, because Fable 3 was pretty terrible in my opinion. But this is made by a new developer, the same developer that normally makes the Forza games actually. So that'll be interesting to see their take on it for sure. But yeah, I don't hate the Xbox, I just feel like they really needed to nail this conference, and it didn't quite hit in the way that it needed to in order to get people to want to buy the new Xbox over the PlayStation 5. But yeah, I'm kind of wary to see what's going to happen to the Xbox brand in the future, because I can kind of see them going down the path of not making consoles anymore, and kind of doing something similar to Stadia, where you just buy the Xbox Game Pass and it just streams to any device, and that's how you play Xbox games from now on. Because it just doesn't really feel like they're putting in the effort to sell a console in the way that they should really be doing. But yeah, let me know in the comments if you feel the same way that I do. Were you disappointed by the event, or did you actually really like it? There was a lot to like there, so I can definitely understand anybody that does have that opinion. But for me, I just wanted a little bit more from it. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, give it a like, subscribe to see more stuff coming soon, and I'll see you next time. Bye!